So here's my thing. Looking back to UFC 280 made me realize how it was not close at all. Charles Do Bronx Oliveira didn't stand a chance that night. He fell way short. And I've watched the video, I've watched the tape multiple times here, and I think I see why. Like I was saying, this was not close. Going into, I feel like it was a very fair fight. People thought if anybody could beat a Dagestani wrestler, it was Charles Oliveira. This man has the most submissions in UFC history. This guy's a legend. This guy has taken out everybody before him. And just recently, Beneil Dariush, taken out Justin Gaethje, taken out Dustin Poirier. He's taken out killers. But he hasn't taken out Islam, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close here. Alright, so before my eyes here, I've got Charles's strengths and weaknesses here. And it ain't pretty. I'm going to be honest, it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. That fight was brutal. I was re-watching that fight, just going back and rewatching and replaying, trying to find areas of the fight that he was winning in, and they are few and far in between. He did not have a good night that night. But something that stood out to me, and we all just know about him, is his submission ability. Now, I don't know if I've got a graphic of it, but there is a moment where when Islam was on the ground, Charles was kind of trying to wrap up a triangle. It didn't work, of course, but Do Bronx has submission ability. We all know it. I don't even have to say too much about it, but he does. But one of his weaknesses, but he's got basic takedowns. He did 2 takedowns in the fight, and they weren't even completed. But he tried it, and it was the same kind. Another one of his strengths, I believe, is his pressure. Pressure is hard to deal with, and his ability to his lack of fear to just push forward, just stand with the killers of the 155 division, that's a strength. So coinciding with his strength of pressure, one of the weaknesses I saw was his move. He has a lack of head movement. I think he relies, similarly to Islam, on thinking his opponents are afraid to take him down. Lack of head movement, and it shows by him getting hit. He's been knocked down in pretty much every single fight that I've seen lately of him. I don't know with Beneil Dariush, I can't remember. So we all know Charles can strike. He can stand in there with some of the best of them. He can land some great punches. He's knocked out Michael Chandler. I'm fairly sure he knocked down Justin Gaethje. And he went toe-to-toe with Dustin Poirier. I can't remember if he ever knocked him down. But he has good striking. But he doesn't have great striking defense. Like, his guard comes down a lot, and it makes him very hittable. Combined with his lack of movement and his not great guard, he's really hittable, man. Hittable. And I think that he just relies on the fact that he's the best submission artist in the UFC, and people don't want to follow him down to the ground. Another strength that I saw in the fight, that he is an active clinch worker. He gets in there and he likes to engage, and he's good at throwing knees and dirty boxing in that clinch, throwing this hooks and just getting his punches in. You like to see it. Clinching can be some of the clinching can be one of the boring aspects of a fight, but he does make it entertaining. One of the other weaknesses that I saw in this fight is his lack of counter striking. Man, he's going like this, but he had no success in counter striking. I was watching through one of the videos and I'd pause and I'm like, dang, he struck Islam with just a massive right hook. But when I actually went and watched it, he didn't. It was a miss. Like, he was not there as a counter striker. So these were just some of the strengths and weaknesses that I saw. This isn't really going back any. I was just watching this single fight, so I'm not saying Bronx is just crap and has basic takedowns in every single fight, but this fight. Moving on, Islam Makhachev. the reigning defending champion. Let's get on to his strengths and weaknesses. And I'll kind of give you a little hint. I didn't see a whole lot of weakness in that fight. Not saying he doesn't have them, but I didn't see a whole lot in that fight. The first things that I saw was, man, his counter striking is great. Great. He's on the back foot and run away, but he also can put pressure, but he's a counter striker. He'll initiate it, but typically he is counter striking and he's good at it. His counter striking is excellent. And combined with Oliveira's pressure and the kind of lack of movement in defense, it made his counter striking look even better. Because Oliveira's just an easier target to hit. His counter striking was on point at UFC 280. And that won him the fight. So to keep it fair, I'll also add some weaknesses here, and these were some that I saw. His footwork, while kind of moving and backing up Oliveira's pushes, not great. He's like fumbling and he doesn't have great base. And I might, like, Oliveira like goes like this, misses his shots, and then right in his face, right in the clinch, and will start to kind of like dirty box. And Islam is just swinging wildly. He like forgets to actually line up his punch on the bone. I saw so many times where he like swings around this looping right hand and he hits right here. That's not doing any damage. And his feet just look all tangled about. So that is something that I noticed. To capitalize on that is a different story, but that is one of the I saw. Moving on, his ground game is literally incredible. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say on this. I mean, he dominated Charles on the ground. He defended every single takedown and reversed it so that he was always on top, on the good positions. Whenever he was in the clinch, he reversed that and got into the good position. He didn't lose a single moment when it came to ground game. And he's also good at ground and pound. He was freaking... It was dominant performance. One of the weaknesses, susceptible to up kicks. I mean, it only happened once, but I mean, when Oliveira's laying on his back and has his feet up like that, like Makhachev kind of is trying to get in there, and he did get up kicked once. You never know. Maybe at UFC 294, that's how it ends. Imagine an up kick to the chin knocks him cold. That's a prediction right there. I don't think it'll happen, but that'd be wild. So going on to his strengths, I mean, his striking defense is way better than Oliveira's. His guard is way better. There were moments where I saw him drop it and leave himself susceptible to getting counter punched, but Oliveira never was able to capitalize on that. His striking defense is way better. It's way more kind of shelled up. So another weakness I saw is that he's kind of got basic attacks, and I kind of go into this talking more about what Oliveira can do, but he doesn't kick very much, and his kicks aren't very great. Doesn't leg kick or anything like that, and his punches, what I was noticing is that his right hand are almost always hooks, and his left hands are almost always straight. And obviously you'll have some like loop and power shots, but he almost always straights with the left, hooks with the right. And it works for him, and it works great for counter punching, but something to notice. I mean, basic, they're kind of basic. And this is where I ran out of weaknesses for him. I mean, but don't yell at me. Don't hate me. Don't yell at me. It's just what I saw.
The pressure of Oliveira.
Like I had stated earlier, he defended every single takedown.
Trying to get his own
First it ended up in a good position.
Herzog using his Brazilian Portuguese to tell Charles Oliveira.
And if that ain't a sign of a champion, I don't know what. And his quick decisions. I mean, I think this is strength. When he knocked down Oliveira, everybody else waited because they're afraid. He didn't. He got right in there, past guard, and immediately went up into the choke. And that is quick decision making. That is quick. And when you have a an opponent like Oliveira who capitalizes on people waiting and giving him time to clear his head, quick decisions like that, exactly what ended the fight there. Then the last one I think I have here for him is his distance control was way better than Oliveira, and you can tell looking back and watching the strike, and you can see why Islam is hitting more strikes. Because his lead hand, he's pawing. He's always pawing at his opponent to gauge distance so that he knows when he can punch and when to hit. Looking at Oliveira's striking, it was more, he's kind of going like this, they both do this, but he punches, Oliveira punches and always falls short. Islam didn't as much, and that's because of his distance control, I believe, with like the pawing to gauge distance. So here are the two still photos that I took, two takedown attempts that Charles Oliveira had. So this is from round 1, and you've probably already seen it in this video. But the way that he's doing it is Oliveira punches, runs in, collapses his arms like this, and like pulls, yanks to yank him off balance. But it didn't work the first time because if you look here, I don't have a way to write it, but look at Oliveira's feet here. He is not planted, he doesn't have a strong base. Islam super easily able to reverse it and end up on top. And then in round 2, when he tried it again, he did have a better base. And kind of talking about Islam's footwork, you can see here, this is where Islam had a bad base. He wasn't able to properly defend and get a full reversal like he did the first time because Oliveira had a way better base in the time. But the result was still pretty much the same. Oliveira wasn't able to even get on top. He got him down to the side, so they're both facing each other, right next to the cage, and Islam just got right back up and then reversed the clinch, and then boom, he's back in control. So in like a series of 10 seconds, a failed takedown into a clinch, reversal, he's back in control. And these were the only takedowns that Oliveira had. It's just the grab around, yank him around. For someone who is apparently so good at submissions and so good at freaking ground game, I would expect a little bit more when you're going up against someone who's also amazing at controlling where his center of balance is. He's also an amazing wrestler. So you would hope in UFC 294 that he's going to come out with a little better arsenal of actually being able to do something on the ground. Because this ain't it. And I hope Oliveira learned his lesson by not just pulling guard and lying on his back, Islam Makhachev, because that isn't going to work. Tried that in round 1 and it failed miserably. The first half of the round, it wasn't like failing miserably because Islam wasn't really able to do a whole bunch. But in the second part of round 1, he was laying nasty ground and pound. So I hope that he learned his lesson and that he doesn't do that. So continuing my thing, what I was seeing is that Makhachev was piecing up Oliveira on the stand-up and dominating him on the ground. And that led to this moment right here. Oliveira jumps up, goes for the flying knee, and gets slept. The right hand. You know what? That wasn't. But he did get knocked down. He got knocked right on his butt. And that was the end of the fight. That was all she wrote. Because then this happened. As you can see, Islam just knocked him down, goes like this and passes guard, and then boom, 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 is already into the submission. And it's over. Taps just like that. He was just kind of waiting there, waiting to get his breath like he has done in pretty much every other fight, and he didn't have that time to do it. Didn't have that time to clear his head. Clear the cobwebs. It cost him the fight. I think he got used to doing that. He got used to having that crutch, and he didn't have it in this fight, and he's not going to have it in the rematch. So what can Oliveira do to get a win? It's coming UFC 294. What can he do? Well, I've laid out a couple things. He might do other things. I'm no expert. I've never fought anybody, but here were the things that I was thinking. What are his keys to victory? I think number one is patience for him. I don't think he should be marching Islam down because Islam is a freaking counter puncher, and like I've said, combined with Oliveira's lack of movement and defense, he can't just push like he has, because he's going to get outstruck, counterpunched, and it's going to be the exact same thing. So I think he needs to have a little bit more patience. I think he needs to grow his counterpunching ability and kind of have Islam take the lead when it comes to striking, so that Oliveira can exploit his defenses, his lack of movement at times. I think that's really critical in the upcoming fight. Because even just looking at Justin Gaethje's second approach to Dustin Poirier, is it was patient. It's the mythical fighter, patient Gaethje, and patient Francis Ngannou. These people learn patience and they smoke their opponent that have previously beaten them. Patience, patience, patience. What else can he do? Throw in some different takedowns. Love of mercy. Just, because I bet, throw in some different takedowns. I want to see Oliveira on top at least once at UFC 294 so that we can see what he can do. Yeah, you have way more submission attempts on the top. I bet. I guess I'm just saying that. No expert. Next thing I think is he needs to gauge distance a little bit more if he's going to be actually striking with him. I think he needs to paw or he needs to use kicks to gauge distance. Either way, his striking went nowhere in the first fight. And something I think he could do differently is just gauge distance like Islam. Play that hand battle and win it. Get the distance so that you can actually strike and correctly time your punch to hit Islam in the face. And then I think better head movement. I mean, he just kind of marches down and doesn't really, use footwork, sway a bit, and that's harder said than done, but, no, easier said sorry. But I still think that would be something that would help him. The next thing I think, and I briefly talked about it, is learn Islam strikes, man. The left hand is almost always straight, a power shot or straight, and it's almost always followed up, or the right is just a right hook. And I think, and when you look at Oliveira, he goes like this, and he'll punch or whatever, and then dodges this, and his left arm is almost always down. Either raise up your guard to defend from the hook, or roll, or dodge, because it was doing nasty damage. The arms are down, just a little too low. It's not helpful. Needs to get a little bit better defensively and play a little smarter, because he got outclassed at UFC 280. So these were my keys to Do Bronk's victory at UFC 294. I know that he could get it done, but will he? So that was my thing. My thing is that Do Bronk's got outclassed, and unless he changes some things up, it's another absolute domination at UFC 294. I think that there's some things that he can change, and I think that he can get that victory. So that was my thing. Thanks for listening. See you next time.